we've been taking up slightly easier examples from past CAT questions for these, right? Arithmetic. To again give you a perspective, 90% or okay, let's put it as 80% of arithmetic are on the easy medium front, right? Easy or medium. 20% are medium to tough, medium to hard. Yeah. Um, Only about 5% are on the hard. 1 in 20 questions, I'm finding it to be really hard, right? And the best part is when you see a hard question, it's easy for you to identify it to be hard itself, right? Let me just give you an example. Let's just look at some of the very quickly before we start with the session, because question identification is also as important, right? Should I attempt this question or not? It's not about just knowing the concepts and going and applying it and applying it. Just a second. Let me just get this open. Yeah, so these are some of the past questions I've sent out. If any of you don't have it, we can resend in the groups. Right now, we just discussed yesterday some of these. This is interest in growth. Yeah, to give you an idea. One second, let me just zoom this a bit. John borrowed 2,10,000. It's a simple amount, 1%, and that's it. Quite small. I would say take it up, even though it's a tough year, right? But the in-between sentence might have been a little difficult. As compared to another interesting growth question in the same year, the second slot. How does this look? Gopal borrowed rupees X from Ankit at 8% annual interest. He then adds rupees Y of his own money and lends X plus Y to Ishan at 10% annual interest. At the end of the year, after returning Ankit's dues, the net interest retained by Gopal is the same as that accrued to Ankit. On the other hand, had Gopal lent X plus 2Y to Ishan at 10%, I've solved that CAT 1000, I put this question up. It's solvable. I'm not saying no. But I'm saying it's relatively on the tougher side, right? By reading, we should have an idea. Although percentages are quite small, your X and X plus Y, you're borrowing, then giving, and something coming back, and what is being retained. By the look of it, you should realize this is definitely tougher than something like this. Yeah. 15 lakhs over here, you have fixed deposit earning this, the remaining is, and some ratio 2:1, a simple ratio given to you, right? And 4%, 3%, and some total income, doable as compared to this particular one. Yeah, 3:4:5 is the amount invested, correct? This 12,000, 8% compounded annually, doable, slightly simpler numbers, right? And we reinvested 5% this thing exactly after this, somebody invested, doable. Short questions, typically on the easier side, right? We took these up. But then you could have something like, this you need to think a bit, right? 10,000 a fund, and at the end of the first year, he incurred a loss, but his balance was more than 5,000. I don't know how much. This balance, when invested for another year, grew, and then the percentage of growth, it is actually doable. But I'm saying some would be very easy. Some would be direct application of concepts or whatever, very easy, typically the smaller ones. This also we have done, it's done that CAT 1000. This is, what do you say? You substitute the values and close it out. They've given you options as well over here, right? The 17th question is one of the toughest I've seen for interest in growth, right? Bank A offers 6% this thing, compounded half yearly. B and C offers simple interest, but the annual interest of C is twice that of Bank B. Raju invests a certain amount in B for a certain period, and Rupa invests in C for twice that period. The interest would accrue to Raju during the period equal to the interest. This one big story, yeah. Compared to, boom, 10% compounded half yearly, 1.5 years came to this much. How much is the amount? So there'll be there'll be a lot of questions in the exam, CAT exam, which will be up for grabs. Take it, eat it, and go. Run types, right? So we should be focusing on those. If something really tough is landing up over there, give it a skip, is what I'm saying, right? Savings in two parts. Simple interest on the first part, 15% per annum, 4 years. The second part, 12%, 3 years. Percentage of savings, right? So invested in the first part is how much, right? Both of these are the same, right? 15% for 4 years interest, 12% 3 years, simple interest. How easy is it? As compared to three payments, three things, and this, that, and all of that. which is long drawn out with a lot of relationships and links, and 10,000 rupees, 6%, and all of that. Yeah. So here, Pinto invest 1/5 on this, right? So small, short questions saying here, take it, go. There's no point trying to attempt every question saying that I'm prepared only for arithmetic. I'll do everything there. No, pick the easy ones and do them. Okay, fine. So with that in mind, what we have today over here in this revision is I'm going to be looking at slightly easier questions. I'm not going to be picking the hard questions and showing it to you as to how you can answer in 2 minutes, because I don't want you to do them in the exam. Yeah. So again, arithmetic, from what I've observed, 80% are definitely on the doable front. That's a big number, right? 80-20 is what I will say. And you yourself saw there's a collection of interest and growth questions. At least 80% are doable, correct? Nobody is going to deny. That's the same across every lesson. When it comes to algebra or geometry, right? Geometry, if you're prepared really well, yes. Here I would say is a 50-50. Yeah. And algebra has been like depending. Logarithm has been on the easy side, but something around inequalities or quad or inequalities, it's been more of 20-80, or depending on the preparation, 30-70. It can be a little tricky, right? But if you're prepared well, then it's going to become 100-0, right? If you're in my mode, or like you're close to it, you know it well. I'm not saying don't, and you can answer them quickly as well. But if you're not very well prepared, right? If you're not very confident, and this is the reason why arithmetic we're going to spend more time now. Yeah. So yeah, so let's start then, right? So the first concept, when it comes to ratios, right, is ratios have some hidden elements as well, the sum and difference, and we have to be working with them, right? Standard thing with ratios is it's again comparison of terms. And do we need to, does in a ratio, are there only two terms? No, minimum of two terms. We can also have three or four, or how many ever you want, right? But when we say that the ratio of number of apples to oranges to bananas to guavas or something like that is 2:3:5:6, we also have some hidden information over here, which is what's the total. So 2 plus 3 plus 5, that's 10, plus 6 is 16. For every 16 fruits in the bag, 2 are apples, 3 are oranges, 5 are bananas, 6 are guavas, and so on. Right? For every 16, we have this many over here. We can also say the difference between G and A, guavas and apples, right? What is it? 4. If the difference between the guavas and apples in the bag is 12, then how many bananas are there? Then what was that? 4 into 3 over here gave us this 12. Then the number of bananas in the bag is into 3. Everything gets multiplied with 3 over here, right? So what's the logic? The ratio over here tells us for every 16 of this, there are 2. For every 4 of this, there are 3 oranges, right? And so on. Now, this ratio tells us in comparison relative terms. Once an absolute value is given for any one of these terms in the ratio, even any one of them, you have the absolute value given. You can find the absolute value for every one of them. Now, how do you do that? What is the relationship between these two? 4 into what is this? Into 3. Everywhere you multiply a 3. Everywhere you multiply a 3. And you've got the values. Now, this one simple concept is what we are going to be using extensively in solving ratio-based questions, time and speed-based questions, time and work questions, a lot of them, right? Across arithmetic, this is the most important concept. Sounds very simple, but yeah, with this, what we are avoiding is what we had learned in school. How many bananas are there? 5/16 of total, right? Or let me take 2x, 3x, 5x, and 6x. If 6x minus 2x over here, which is 4x, equals 12, then x equals 3. Now 3 I will substitute. In school, we had to do that to get step marks, tick, 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 4 marks for this question. Here we don't have all step marks. We're just going to use this, no variable, just write in the ratios. Actual values below that, form the link and multiply. That's it. We'll take up a simple question, right? CAT 2017 was one of the easier years, right, for Quant, slot 2. If A, B, and C are 3 positive integers such that A and B are in the ratio 3:4, while B and C are in the ratio 2:1, right? So this is where we bring in something called merging ratios, right? So what is that? A and B is in the ratio of 3:4. We write it this way. We'll see that soon as well. And B and C are in the ratio 2:1. What does it mean? For every three A's, there are four B's, and for every two B's, there is one C. And how do we merge it? This is my linking term. Both of these have to be brought to the same value. And 4 and 2, the LCM is 4. This is already with 4. And here I have to multiply this entire ratio with 2. So 3 is to 4, I'll write as it is. 3 is to 4, I write as it is. And this 2 is to 1 over here, when I multiply with 2, 2 is to 1 is same as 4 is to 2. 4 is to 2. So if this is 4, C becomes 2, right? This is the way we link it. 3 is to 4 we have here, and this becomes 4 is to 2. And once we have done that, what's the question? Which one of the following is a possible value of A plus B plus C? A, B, C is 3, 4, 2. A plus B plus C over here is going to be what? Is going to be 9 parts. Now, each of these are an integer. Each of these are an integer means I have to be multiplying it with some x to find the actual value. I have to be multiplying with some x to find the actual value. The total over here has to be a 9x, a multiple of 9. Because total of 9 parts, 9 into x is 9x. Which of these is a 9 multiple? Sum of digits, it works out over here. 2 plus 7 is 9. Rest are not. Option 3 is the answer, right? So that's it. Merge the ratios, A plus B plus C. But are they going to be like giving you a straightforward one here, come take it and go? No. They want to make you think a bit. Which of these is a possible value? A plus B plus C, write it down. Once it's 9, you need to know 9 parts over here. It has to be a 9 multiple. 9 into an integer, right, is a 9 multiple. The only 9 multiple is 207. The next is a concept, not a concept exactly, but what we have been doing, right? So, which is look to solve these ratio based questions without using variables, right? Let go of them. Conceptually understand that and you'll feel more confident, right? Let's look at an example, right? Let's look at an example. Um, a stall sells popcorn and chips in packets of three sizes: large, super, and jumbo. Fine. The numbers of large, super, and jumbo packets in its stock are 7 is to 17 is to 16. What are they doing? They're selling popcorn and chips, three sizes. This one is telling me the numbers of large, super, and jumbo packets in the stock are in the ratio 7 is to 17 is to 6 for popcorn. This is for popcorn only. And 6 is to 15 is to 14 for chips. For chips, it's a separate ratio. For popcorn, is a separate ratio. If the total number of popcorn packets in its stock is the same as that of chips packets, total number of popcorn packets, right, in the stock is the same as that of chips packets, then the number of jumbo popcorn and jumbo chips, jumbo is the last one, right? What is that going to be? Right now, what is being linked or equated over here? The total part. The total is supposed to be similar. So the first ratio, it's 7 is to 17 is to 16, right? Not 6. So the total over here is coming to 40, right? 40 over here. The second ratio, it's 6 is to 15 is to 14, and 29 plus 6 is coming to 35. 35. Now, what they have told me in the question is the total numbers are the same for both, right? 40 and 35, they are different right now, but they have to be brought to the same value, for which I want the LCM. Now, 40 and 35, what is it's 5 into 8, 5 into 7. So this I'll multiply with 7, the 7 which is here. This I'll multiply with 8, the 8 which is here. And I'll bring it to the same numbers. 40 into 7 is 280. And when 35 into 8 is also 280, now the two of them are equal and they are comparable. The moment they say, right, something is equal, and in ratio terms itself, I can bring it to an equal term, then the two can just be directly compared, right? So what do I have to do? I have to multiply with 7 everywhere. But I don't even need to do that. All they're asking is the numbers of jumbo popcorn packets and number of jumbo chips packets are in what ratio? Jumbo is my last one, large, super, and jumbo. 16 into 7 is 16 into 7. 14 into 8 is 14 into 8. They want the ratio of these two. 16 into 7 is to 14 into 8. I divide over here. 2 8s are 16. 1 is to 1. Option 1 is the answer, right? They are not asking us to solve and multiply and find for each of these. I don't even need to write down as 16 into 7 comes to 112, or 14 into 8 is also coming to 112. All that is not required. All they want us to do is bring these, equate them. I have to bring it to an equal form, comparable right now, and that's it. If there were 280 of this, then you had 16 into 7 jumbo packets. If there are 280 of this, you had 14 into 8 jumbo packets, and that's it. Then they are comparable at this stage. A lot more in this particular lesson, right, where we will not be using the variables when it comes to ratios. Okay, so when we have a simple thing, right, simplifying ratios with fractions, 2 terms and more than 2 terms, we know this. If it's going to be 3 by 5 is to 4 by 7, simplification is going to be cross multiply, right? So 21 is to 20, that's the ratio. 7 3s are 21, you write it here, 5 4s are 20, you write it here, and we are done, right? From fraction, if you want to bring it this way. But if the fraction is going to have more than 2 terms, if it's 3 terms, right? So what do I do? This entire thing I'm going to multiply with 5 into 7 into 6. I have to multiply this entire thing. Why? That's the LCM. When I do that, 5 gets cancelled, 7 6 are 42, 42 into 3 is 126. 7 gets cancelled, 5 into 6 is 30, 34s are 120. The last one, 6 is cancelled, you just write a 35 down. This is the ratio of this. You can't do cross multiply over here with more than 2 terms. I think at this stage, all of you would be knowing this. So now let's move on to what most ratios questions are about, right? Combining multiple ratios. Majority of, no, majority, at least half the questions I've seen in the CAT, right? Direct ratios questions is about merging ratios. They want you to combine them. That's what it's about. A lot of these combining ratios happens in time and speed as well, right? We'll take an example here, right? So this is something which I'm sure a lot of you would have tried as well, right? 2017 slot 1. Suppose that C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 are 5 companies. The profits made by C1, C2, C3, that's C1, right? C1, C2, and C3 are 9 is to 10 is to 8, right? In the ratio 9 is to 10 is to 8. And those made by C2, 4, and 5, right? We have to be careful, not C3, C2. C2, C4, and C5 are given as 18 is to 19 is to 20, right? Then the question asked over here is, if C5 has made a profit of 19 crores more than C1, C5 minus C1 is what we have to track, and that's given in absolute values as 19 crores. Then what is the total profit made by all the companies, C1 to C5? C1 plus C2 plus C3 plus C4 plus C5. We have to find that. It's all playing with these terms and all of that. First step is to merge them. 10 and 18, LCM is 90. 90, how do I get 90 from 10? 9 into 10 is 90. What into 18 is 90? 5 into 18 is 90. We can multiply with 10 and multiply with 18. It's a two-step process. LCM is 90, right? How do I get 90? 9 into this. How do I get 90 here? 5 into this and done. That's it. Multiply the respect. 9 into 9 is 81. Whichever way you multiply, you're going to get 90 over here. 9 into 8 is 72, right? 5 into 19 is 95. And 5 into 20 is 100. What is C5 minus C1 first in terms of parts? C5, 100 minus 81 is 19. If this in absolute value is 19 crores into 1, whatever I'm getting is the answer. What they've asked for is the total profit of all 5 companies. I have to add all these up, and that's it. 81 plus 90 is 171. 171 plus 72 is 243. 243, 343, 343, make it a 443 minus 5, which is a 438, right? So option 1 becomes the answer over here. Okay. So one more in combining multiple ratios, linking variable and all of that. What do we have? Sum of money is split among Amal, Sunil, and Meeta, so that the ratio of the shares of A and S are is 3 is to 2, right? A and S is 3 is to 2, while the ratio of the shares of S and M is 4 is to 5. S and M over here is 4 is to 5. If the difference between the largest and smallest of these shares, right? So if I multiply this with 2, this is going to be brought to 4, and it's as simple as that, nothing else. 6 is to 4 is to 5. The difference between the largest and the smallest of these 3 shares, largest and smallest are 6 and 4 over here. So it comes to 2 parts, right? A minus S, largest and smallest, that's coming to 2 parts, is rupees 400, is rupees 400. How do I get 400? 2 into 200 over here. Sunil's share is how much? Sunil's share over here is into 200 over here, and you get 800, and that becomes the answer. Now, this is something which multiplying or dividing terms directly in ratios, right? We'll be using this a lot in time and speed, right? We'll just take up an example, right, to give you an idea. This is a lesson example. It's not from a CAT paper, but there are so many CAT questions where you'll have to be doing this, right? But I didn't want to give something from time and speed. Wanted to give you from something different. We saw this briefly in the previous session as well, right? The previous revision on percentages. If you have, I mean, interest in growth, right? So if you have an equation like distance equals speed into time, I can always add the words ratio. Ratio of distance equals ratio of speed into ratio of time. What I mean by this is, if I'm told that the ratio of speed over here is 3:5, and the ratio of time taken by two people, right? Two people, P1 and P2, is 2:7. Then what is the ratio of distance covered over here? Ratio of distance covered is speed into time. That's it. Multiply the corresponding terms. 6:35 over here is the ratio of the distances covered, and that's it, right? So you'll be using this lot in distance, speed, and time. It can also come in terms of other types of relationships as such. Example 5 over here, company ABC sold 3 products X, Y, and Z. The ratio of the revenue earned from X, Y, and Z in 2020 is 5:4:3. Revenue, total amount earned. Ratio of quantities sold. Okay, I'm selling some quantities, I'm getting a total amount. Fine. If the unit prices, that's it. Clear relationship over here. Unit prices, price per unit, right? Unit prices, price per unit into the quantity should give me the revenue, total amount. If there are 10 phones sold, and each of these phones, price per unit, each of these phones were some 10,000 rupees, then total amount realized over here is 1 lakh, right? If I multiply these two, I'm getting the total revenue over here. So once you form this relationship, and then it becomes simple over here. So the same, I can add the words ratio of over here, and that's it. So what do we have? We have the ratio of revenue, right? Ratio of revenue over here for X, Y, and Z. Some people call it Z. A lot of people, in fact, nowadays call it Z. And what do we have? 5:4:3. And ratio of quantity sold over here is 3:4:5. What is the ratio of price per unit, or price per unit price? Now, what's the relationship? Ratio of price per unit is nothing but ratio of revenue divided by ratio of quantity, divided by, I have to bring that down, and I have it written that way. Ratio of revenue divided by ratio of quantity equals ratio of price per unit. Just divide them. 5/3, 4/4, which is 1, and 3/5 over here, and that's it. I want to get rid of the denominators over here, and into what? Into 15. And we're going to be getting 5/3 into 15, which comes to 25:1:15. Sorry, 15:15, you cancel here and you get a 3. 3 3s are 9 over here. Right, what was the ratio? It's unlikely to be a MCQ. I mean, non theta question. It's supposed to be an MCQ. Yeah, assume that it's a multiple choice question, and one of these has the options of 25:15:9. So now on to the next concept, which is adding or subtracting, right? We saw multiplying or dividing, we can do that. Now, if it's addition or subtraction, how do we do it, right? What should we do? The salaries of Ramesh, Ganesh, and Rajesh were in the ratio 6:5:7, okay, in 2010. So if you want, you can just write it down as you're reading them. Ramesh, Ganesh, and Rajesh. If you just write down the first part, 2010, the ratio is 6:5:7. Then we will be feeling a little better that one sentence is done, first part of the sentence. And the ratio 3:4:3 in 2015. Okay, 2015 leaves some gap. I don't know what is to be done. Okay, if Ramesh's salary increased by 25% during the period 2010 to 15, Ramesh has grown by 25%. So the link is given over here. The growth over here is supposed to be 25% for Ramesh, right? But right now 6 is growing to 3. No, it's halving. No. I want to bring it to those numbers, right? I want it to be 3 multiples. Something is growing by 25%. 25% is 1/4. 1/4, I want a 3 multiple, which is also a 4 multiple. What? 12. 12 over here, right? If 12 has grown by 1/4, it has become 15. Now, both of these, now I can write it this way. We'll once again look at this. 6 into 2 is 12. So 5 into 2 is 10. 7 into 2 is 14. 3 into 5 is 15. 4 into 5 is 20. 3 into 5 is 15. And percentage increase in Rajesh salary over here. Rajesh salary grew from 14 to 15. It grew by 1 by 14, right? One part it grew by. So 1 by 14 over here is 7.14 something percent. The closest over here is 7%, right? 7 becomes the answer. Let's move to the next one. So this is a common type which comes up, right? Where one term is held constant, whereas the other items are changing. And one such came up recently, right? And this is the example, right? So 2022 slot one, a mixture contains lemon juice and sugar syrup in equal proportion. If a new mixture is created by adding this mixture and only sugar syrup, the initial mixture contains lemon juice and sugar syrup both. But the new one is created by adding this initial mixture with only sugar syrup in the ratio 1:3. Then the ratio of lemon juice and sugar syrup in the new mixture is what? But wait, what I said? The initial mixture was an equal proportion. So we have lemon juice and sugar syrup in the ratio of 1:1, right? And what is happening in terms of total? How many parts is that? How many parts is that? That's 1 plus 1, 2 parts. Now what they have told us, a new mixture is created by adding this mixture to sugar syrup, right? Pure sugar syrup. This time only sugar syrup is added in the ratio 1:3. So this is in the ratio 1:3. For one part of the mixture, 3 parts of sugar syrup is added. If one part is 2, 3 parts is going to be 6. But as only sugar syrup is coming up, no lemon juice over there, it is pure sugar syrup. That's it. When the volumes are now linked up and in the correct ratio, all we need to do is add up the respective parts and we get 1:7, and that becomes the answer. Too simple. But if you want to look at it from a there's another way of looking at this, right? So wherein I say that if you have ratios everywhere, if you're not able to relate to it, why don't you use some values? Why don't you use some values to understand it better, right? So let's use values right now. Lemon juice and sugar syrup, right? Sugar syrup over here and total over here. Now the initial mixture, they had equal quantities. 1:1. Instead of that, let's say 100 ml. 100 ml of lemon juice and 100 ml of sugar syrup were mixed up to get 200 ml, right, of the total mixture. Now, a new mixture is created by adding this mixture with pure sugar syrup, right? In what ratio? 1:3. For every one part over here of the mixture, we had 3 parts over here of the sugar syrup. So one part is 200 ml, 3 parts would have been 600 ml. But this is only pure sugar syrup. This is what were mixed up. So 100 ml of lemon juice we had finally, and we had 100 plus 600, 700 ml of sugar syrup. What's the final ratio here? Your quantity gets cancelled, I mean units, 100 gets cancelled, we get 1:7, right? The next concept, partnership, right? Formula and application. Partnership, the concept is quite simple, right? People are going to be, partners are going to be bringing different amounts of money. And at times, very often, the amounts are going to be in the company for different durations. So if 3 lakhs was brought in for 4 months, 3 into 4, if the next partner brought in 4 lakhs for 5 months, the ratio in which they are going to be splitting the profits is 3/5 or 3:5. So when you have just 2 partners, division, a ratio of 2 terms can be written as a fraction as well. We know that. And when it comes to 3 or 4 or more partners, right, you can always write it this way. Ratio of investment, right, of 4 partners, let's say A, B, C, and D are given to you. and that is 2 is to 3 is to 4 is to 5, and ratio of the duration is given as 1 is to 2 is to 3 is to 4, right? So just write that one below the other. And the ratio of the profit share is what you have to find. It's simply going to be the product of investment and duration everywhere. Directly you can multiply, don't need to use a variable and simplify further, right? 12 and 20, you can further simplify and write it as 1 is to 3 is to 6 is to 10. Yeah. And what can we get questions is, they will again play with stuff. If the difference between the profits which D and B received, right, is known to be 63 lakhs, then how much did C receive as profit? Difference between D and B, 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 parts is 63 into 9. I have to do an into 9 over here and write it as 54, right? Those are the kind of questions which can be there. They can also say ratio of investment of 3 partners, 2 is to 3 is to 4, ratio of another 3 is 3 is to 4 is to 5, or they can give actual values as well, right? I mean, they could want you to merge some of them, right? Not 3 is to 4 is to 5, but they could give something here. They'll want you to merge some of these ratios. They can play with it however they wish, right? So several ways in which this partnership questions can be asked, but the underlying principle is very simple. Investment amounts into duration is going to give you the ratio of profit share. Now we'll take up a couple of examples, right? One example, I mean, a couple of them, and see if it covers one specific area which I wanted to. It does, then well and good. Yeah. So the first one, W, X, Y, and Z invested 1,20,000, 1,10,000, 1,90,000, and 70,000 for 4, 6, 8, and 10 months respectively. If the profits at the end of the year was 75,000, then the difference between those received by X and Y is how much? 75,000 is the total. Now, first thing you need to understand, I'm concerned only about the ratio of these investments. So straight away, I can write 12 is to 10 is to 9 is to 7. Remember that. Don't waste time in the exam. Don't be writing these full values, right? Ratio of investment is 12 is to 10 is to 9 is to 7. Write it down. Don't directly multiply and write down. We are prone to make silly mistakes. Likewise, I want ratio of duration. 4, 6, 8, and divide by 2 everywhere. 2 is to 3 is to 4 is to 5. Now, what's the ratio of profit share? Multiply these directly. 24 is to 30 is to 36 is to 35. 7 5s are 35. Now, if I add all of these, 24 plus 36 is 60, 60 plus 30 is 90, 90 plus 35 is coming to 125 parts. Now, 125 parts is actually 75,000. How do I get that? 125 into 6 is 750, so into 600. Then the difference between the profits received by X, that's W, X, and Y. X and Y, the difference in the profits received is 6 parts. 6 into 600 is what is asked. I just multiply that and write it as 3,600, right? It's one of the more elegant ways of answering this question. Yeah, okay. So then quickly, the last concept which I wanted, all right, this is again my example over here. Um, so this is one of those lesson examples, which is more like seemingly difficult, right? Seemingly difficult. We've got to understand the scope for silly mistakes, and it's a good example overall, right? So A, B, and C started a business at the beginning of a financial year with capitals of 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 respectively. Some amounts they had as capital at the start. Now, B and C withdrew their investments and exited the business sometime during the year. The ratio of the profits the ratio in which the profits were divided was 4 is to 2 is to 5. Then after how many months did B and C quit? What does that mean? We have A, we have B, and we have C. And what are the amounts here? I'm concerned only about the ratio. So 2, 3, and 5. So the capital amounts were 2, 3, and 5, right? That's the investment. Now, how long were they there in the business? How long were they there in the business? We know for A alone was 12 months, right? The full 12 months. But for B and C, I know that The capital was lying in the business only for X months and Y months. We don't know how many it is, right? For X months, it was there in the business, and then it was out of the business, right? So we don't know these two. This is again a type where we are linking where one term we know. Which term do we know? 12 into 2 is 24. 3 into x over here is 3x. 5 into y over here is 5y, right? Now, what is given over here is the profits. This should have been the ratio of profit share. I have been told it is 4 is to 2 is to 5. If the ratio of profit share is 4 is to 2 is to 5, how do I bring 4 to 24? Into 6. This is nothing but into 6 everywhere. 24 is to 12 is to into 6 over here and 30. It simply means if 24 is 24, comparable, the same, 3x should be equal to 12, which means x is 4, and 5y over here is 30, which means y over here is 6. Then after how many months did B and C quit? Their money was there only for 4 and 6 months. They quit after 4 and 6 months over here. Yeah. So proportion and variation, all right? So I wanted to take up, all right? So from a concept perspective, proportion variation, it's actually quite simple. How many questions turn up in the exam? Very few over the years. So nevertheless, it's important, right? When it turns up, it's likely to be more on the easier front. Terminologies, antecedents, consequence, if you've been hearing those and all of that, something like 3 by 4, the top one is antecedent, the bottom is consequent, they use it. These are terminologies you might see in some other exams, but in CAT, they generally don't test you on the theoretical aspects, right? So if we are told A by B equals C by D, what are the means and extremes and all of that? So if you write A is to B equals C is to D, then these two ratios are in proportion. The means over here are the middle ones, the extremes are the outer ones, A and D, right? And in this ratio, we know that the product of the extremes, A into D, equals the product of the means, BC, right? And that's about it, right? So it's just general theory. Nothing you're going to be really tested on these and all of that. So just for you to feel a little better, all right? You can look at it that way. Right. So moving on to the more important parts, right? So we'll start off with the first one itself, which is continued proportion, right? So continued proportion is something where you have A by B equals B by C equals C by D and so on, right? What's the denominator over here is the numerator here, and this continues. So if these terms are given, or if anything is given this way, you need to simply understand a very basic thing, that the terms are in geometric progression. That's it. If this is the case, all terms are in geometric progression. AR square, AR cube, right? A ratio of the first and second, A is to B. A divided by AR is 1 by R. AR by AR square is also 1 by R. AR square by AR cube, right? R square is cancelled and you get a 1 by R. They're all going to be equal, and it's all going to be equal to 1 by R, right? So that's what this is. So if you have a continued proportion question, there's no big concept of anything. You can just take up this which turned up in IFT, right? A sum of 1400 is divided amongst A, B, C, and D such that A's share is to B's share, that is A by B, equals B's share is to C's share, B by C, equals C by D, equals 3 by 4. 3 by 4 over here is supposed to be 1 by R. If you remember that, then R over here is nothing but 4/3, right? So I have A, I have AR, I have AR square, I have AR cube, right? And I know R over here is 4/3, right? I want this A to be a term which when multiplied with 4 by 3 three times, I want it to be an integer so that it's easy for me to work with. What is the value A can take? The denominator is going to be 3 cubed. I will want to start with the 27. If A is 27, so that my life becomes easy. So my 4 terms over here can be 27. 27 into 4/3, right? 3 is cancelled, 9 fours are 36. 36 into one more 4/3, right? 36 by 3 is 12, 12 fours are 48. 48 into another 4/3, right? 48 by 3 16, into 4 is 64. This is the ratio of A, B, C, and D. We have connected them, right? Once you're done with them, That's it. The total over here is given to you as sum of these 27 plus 36 comes to 50, 63. 63 plus 48 is 111 plus this is 175. And that for me is given as 1400. 175 into 2 is 350. 350 into 4 is this, so into 8. So we need to find C's share. C's share is 48 into 8. 400 minus 16, 384. Option 4 is the answer. You can do it a lot slower, right? Don't need to go fast. But if you understand this bit, again, you can use a reference or ratios to link them up. It's going to be pretty quick. All right. So next is component on dividendo. All right. Component on dividendo we've learned in a certain way in school, but I've taught you in a different way. Right. So just see if you can follow that. It's again a lesson example. All I'm trying to tell you with this is A by B equals C by D means, and if you want to apply component or dividendo, whatever treatment you're going to do to this side, you have to do the same treatment here. No constants brought in. 4a, you want to create 4a minus 3b divided by 5b plus 7a equals what? You can replace a and b with c and d. That's it. 4c minus 3d divided by 5b. So b can be replaced with d. 5d plus 7c. These two are equal. So if they ask you what is this equal to, this is equal to this, and that's it. Now what do we have in this question? We have a by b, then 5b by 7a minus 4b and all of that is equal to what, right? So people typically would say that, if you have a question with variables and options with variables, substitute and close it out. I agree as well. I'm not saying no. But questions like these with component or dividendo, we can just, if you understand it, it's going to be simple. B can be replaced with D, 5D divided by A can be replaced with C, 7C minus 4D, right? So that's it. 5D by this is sitting in option 4. You can just mark that and quickly go, right? So how many questions have turned up from these? Very little over the years. But if it does, it will come as one question on the test, and it might be a quick kill for you as well, right? You should attempt these. Next is sum rule and its extension, right? When it comes to proportion. What's the sum rule? If A by B equals C by D equals E by F, then this is also equal to A plus C plus E divided by B plus D plus F. That's it. If I'm going to add up the numerators, I can also add up the denominators, and it will be equal. It will be in the same ratio. 1 by 2 equals 2 by 4 equals 3 by 6 equals sum of the numerators, which is 6, divided by sum of denominators 12. Correct. It's also the ratio of 1:2 or 1 by 2. That's it. So therefore, the extension over here is what? Equals, I can write this as 3a by 3b. So 3a, and I can put 3b plus c by d equals 5c by 5d. I can put a 5c and 5d. E by f is 61e by 61f. So 61e and 61f. This is extension to sum rule. What I'm adding over here, if I'm using some coefficients, the same coefficient will be there for the other term, the denominator as well. And I add it up, or I can subtract over here, put a minus sign, whatever it is we can do, and we'll get the same value. It's all going to be in the same proportion. Not in the case of component or dividendo. That change which you made using component or dividendo was not equal to the base proportion. But in this case, your sum rule and extension are all going to be equal to these. And that's it, right? Just take it up with a couple of examples here. The first one, A by B equals C by D equals E by F equals 5. Then A cube plus C cube plus E cube equals, divided by this is what? Looks like a sum rule extension, but not so direct. What's used here? Not A, C, and D, it's A cube. So if A by B is 5, then what is A cube by B cube going to be? A cube by B cube is going to be 5 cube, which is 125. A by B is 5. If you're cubing both sides, you're getting 125 equals A cube by B cube. A cube by B cube is same as C cube by D cube equals E cube by F cube, right? Everywhere we are cubing, fine. Now I can apply sum rule to this and say is equal to A cube plus C cube plus E cube divided by B cube plus D cube plus F cube, and therefore it has to be 125. This is equal to 125, right? So the moment you see this equal to 5, compare it, it's being cubed over here. Cube them and see what you get, 125. Can I apply some rule? Yes, it's going to be equal to 125. That's it. Even by observation, you can answer these questions without even writing these down. Okay, so let's take up another one now. A by B divided by C by D equals, is something. Then 5A minus 4B by 5C minus 4D is going to be what, right? Two ways to do this. One, if it immediately strikes for you that four variables have been used, it has to be some rule or extension. Then you need to understand what's in my denominator. I have C and D, but here in my denominator are B and D. So I'll bring C here and take B there. It's called some alternate or inverted or something. The terminology doesn't matter, right? How you do it is what matters. A by C and it equals B by D. Now I can say this is going to be equal to 5A minus 4B, right? So 5A minus 4B extension to some rule divided by 5C minus 4D. Yeah, correct. So this is going to be equal to what? A by C or B by D in the options. I have A by C. That becomes the answer, right? So that's one way to quickly close it. Another way, if this is not striking for you, should you still attempt? Yes, you should. Plug in values and do it. 1 by 2 equals 2 by 4. 1 and 2, 2 and 4. Plug in over here, see what you're getting. Substitute into these and see where it's matching. And that's it. That you should go for. Next is a concept called circular proportion, which I've taught, which is like if A by B equals B by C equals C by A, we're back to the first numerator. Then one of the solutions is always A equals B equals C. That's one of the solutions. Need not be the only solution, but this is definitely a solution, right? So we look at an example from a CAT question. Something like this can again be anticipated anytime now, all right? It's been a while since something like this came up. If A by B plus C equals B by C plus A equals C by A plus B equals R, then R cannot take any value except, that means R can take only some, which of these values, right? So that's a way of writing, right? Style of writing. So here they've done our work equating to K. Here they have equated to R, right? So how do we go about a question like this? If A by B plus C equals R, then A equals, throw the denominator to the other side, we are getting RB plus RC. If B by C plus A equals R, then keep the numerator here, B equals RC plus RA. And the last one, C by A plus B is R, then C equals RA plus RB, right? Now, before we even go into this, I said circular proportion, one of the solutions is going to be where A by B plus C, then B by C plus A, then C by A plus B, it's all within them, right? A equals B equals C is one of the solutions. If you plug that in, A is B, A equals B equals C, then you're getting A by A plus A, 2A equals half as one of the values. R equals half is definitely one of the solutions, but it's there in option 1 and option 3, right? Can I get any other value over here is the question, right? Is the question. I think, yeah, so there's a slight mistake over here. This wasn't 1, this was minus 1, right? These were minus 1s. Yeah, so half or minus 1, minus half or minus 1. Anyway, so back to this. A equals RB plus RC, B equals RC plus RA, C equals RA plus RB. What would be the next step? If I add these three up, what am I getting? A plus B plus C equals, if I take an R common, I'm getting 2A plus 2B plus 2C. I can write this as 2R into A plus B plus C, right? So two ways in which we can write this. Sorry, if you add these up, you get a 2R common, you get an A plus B plus C. Now, it'll be very tempting for us to cancel these out, right? Yes, you can do that. You can do that, but you need to understand you're canceling variables on two sides. So if I say A into can I say A into B equals A into C and cancel this out and say B equals C? No. What
No,
if the
sir.
values were 0, 5 and 0 and 4? Sorry, 0 and 4 over here. AB into A equals AC. But when can I cancel zeros on both sides and say 5 equals 4? No, I can't do that. So therefore, what we need to do over here is, let me just clear the space. right? So what we need to do over here is, whenever I'm going to cancel sets of variables on both sides, I have to say a plus b plus c is not equal to 0, right? Then I can go ahead and cancel and say 1 equals 2r, r equals half. This is only when this is true, right? So in this condition, r equals half, correct? But what if a plus b plus c equals 0? Then what is b plus c denominator going to be? B plus c equals minus a. If b plus c is minus a, then r equals a by b plus c, which is a by b plus c, which is nothing but a by minus a. A cancels and we get minus 1. That's another solution. So there are two solutions, r equals half and r equals minus 1. So option 3 becomes the answer over here, right? So what brought us to these two solutions? First solution is very simple. All three can be equal. If they're going to be equal, you get half. But wait, there could be another solution. How do we proceed? Write down each of them. We have three equations here. Write them down. Equate each of them to r. Write it this way. Add them up. But before you cancel the two variables, sets of variables, note down the condition when you can cancel the two variables. When a plus b plus c is not equal to 0, you can cancel them and write r is half. What if they are equal to 0? Then your denominator b plus c is minus a. Your denominator c plus a is minus b, right? Everywhere you're going to get minus 1. If a plus b plus c is 0, you get minus 1. If they're not equal to 0, the value is half. Okay, so one more question around circular proportion, right, of sorts. You could have a question like this, right? 3x plus 6 divided by 2y plus 6 equals y plus 3 by 6 equals 4 by x plus 2. It doesn't seem like uh, they're connected. But I see two variables, an x term, a y term. A y term has a y in the numerator now and a constant. Here I have a constant and then an x term again. It looks like a circle or a cycle. Is it possible? Should be the first step. Now I have 2y plus 6. Can I write this as 2y plus 6? Yes, if I multiply by 2. So all I need to do over here is to see as to how I can bring this to 2y plus 6. And this is if I multiply this by 2. If I multiply the numerator by 2, denominator also I have to multiply by 2 for the value to not change. 2y plus 6 divided by 12. If I'm having a 12 here, I should bring this also to a 12, multiply it with a 3, and I get a 12. Numerator is multiplied by 3, denominator also by 3, and I get a 3x plus 6, and that's the same as the first one. That's the same as the first one. That's it. If that is the case, each of these a by b equals b by c equals c by a, then a equals b equals c. That's it. 3x plus 6 is 12. Then x is going to be equal to 6 by 3, 2. 2y plus 6 equals 12. Y equals 6 by 2, 3. X plus y is nothing but 2 plus 3, which comes to 5. So let's look at the concept of substituting values or equating to k. It depends on the cases again. Once again, if you're going to be having terms which are going to be like, in proportion, you can look to apply componendo dividendo or the sum rule, right, as the case may be. In the case of sum rule, pretty much all the terms are going to be sitting over here, as is the case over here, right? But is that exactly the case? We can see now, right? So what is happening here? AC and BD, the numerators have been multiplied. But if we note that, when numerators are multiplied, what happens? If k is equal to a by b equals c by d equals k, then k square is what? AC by BD, right? AC by BD. And we have a square by b square is also k square. And we have c square by d square also k square. Then I have 3ac minus 2bd divided by 3ac plus 2bd. I can replace ac and bd completely with a square, b square or c square, d square. Anywhere it's done. I think in the last one it's done. 3c square minus 2d square divided by 3c square plus 2d square. And we can mark that and go, right? If we know the concepts, the application then becomes quite quick. If we don't know it, it's perfectly fine. We can still within the time frame, you can work with 1 by 2 equals 3 by 6, right? Don't want a repetition of C over here. So 1, 2, 3, and 6, plug into this. It'll take some time, but you'll still note that, only one is possible. At least if nothing much is striking for you, you know that this one question you can answer. Variable, variable, variables, substitute and close it out, even if it takes 4 minutes. Fine. Just a couple of examples for variations and how to merge them, right? So variation, you have direct, inverse, joint, and combine, all of that, right? How do you merge them? So take an example over here. So x varies directly with cube of y, right? How do we write it? X varies directly with cube of y. And x is also inversely proportional to the square root of z, right? So inversely proportional 1 by square root of z. Now these are independently given. If I want to merge them, then I can say x is directly proportional to y cube by root z, because each of them have been separately linked up this way, directly are linked up this way. But when proportionality is given, I can always replace the proportionality symbol with an equal to, provided I add a constant and I'm multiplying it. That's it. And that is the only concept over here. Once I've established this x equals ky cube by root z, for one set of values they've given me, x is 32, then y is 4, and z is 64. If three of them I know, I can find k. What is that? X is 32 when y is going to be 4. So 4 cube is 64 divided by root of z. Root of 64 is 8. So 8, if I divide here, I get an 8. 8 I cancels and get a 4. So k equals 4. So if k is 4, x equals 4y cube by root z. Put a y and a z inside, I have to find the value of x. For the y is 3, you're going to get 4 into 27 divided by z is root of 16, which is 4. And you get x's value as 27, and 27 becomes the answer here. Let's take up another example. This is an example, it's a very good one, something which I like a lot, which came from the IFT paper 2012, right? The exam is no longer there, but yeah. The Howrah Puri Express can move at 45 kilometers per hour without its rake. Right? What's the rake? Rake is something which is, with the other coaches. That means the engine alone is going to be moving at 45 kilometers per hour. And the speed is diminished by a constant that varies as the square root. Now, diminishing part, the reduction, the d, 45 is being reduced by d. The diminishing part, the d is going to be by a constant that varies as the square root of the number of wagons attached. All right. If it is known that with 9 wagons, the speed is 30 kilometers per hour, what is the greatest number of wagons with which the train can just move? So the diminishing over here. So from 45, if I've reduced to 30, right? First of all, the diminishing d over here is going to be what? Varies as the square root of the number of wagons. That means d equals k into root w, right? If it is known that with 9 wagons, when I had 9 wagons, k into root 9 equals what? What was the diminishing part? If the speed was 30, it reduced by 15, right? So if the speed was 30, it reduced by 15. Now 15 equals k into root 9, k equals 15 by 3, which is 5. I found k over here. Perfect. Now a second scenario over here. D equals 5 root w, because I know the k value. Now the train has to just move. Now when will the train not move at all? When I'm going to remove 45. Full 45 is removed. When the diminishing portion is going to be 45, the speed is 0, it's not moving. And the train can just move. We'll try to find that. If the train is not going to move, that is diminishing value is 45, then 5 into what is going to give me this? You simplify over here, you get 9, and you get the wagons as square of this, which is 81. With 81 wagons, this train is not moving at all. To make it move, I just need to remove one of the wagons. At 80, it just about moves. It is just about moving. Exact speed can be an irrational number. It doesn't matter. We don't need to find that. We need to know when is it going to move. At 81, it doesn't. You remove one of them, there is enough speed for it to just about move. Yeah. proportion variation is quite simple, right? Just one last concept over here, something from the FMS paper, it's no longer there anymore. Linking different variations, right? So if x is going to x varies as the cube of y, so x varies as y cube, and y varies as, right? Y varies as the fifth root of z. Fifth root of z, z to the power of 1 by 5. That's it. Then x varies as the nth power of z, okay, where n is what? Then they are telling me that x is going to be varying as the nth power of z, z to the power of n. I need to find n. How do I merge these two? X to y and y to z. I can always substitute directly over here. Even with proportionality, y cube over here, y can be replaced with z power 1 by 5 whole cube. And I get x is proportional to z power 3 by 5. And this n has to be 3 by 5. Option 3 becomes the answer, right? So simple, quick steps. We can work with that. Linking variations, but again, this is the part where I haven't seen too many questions in CAT, right? So it's fine. I mean, get a hang, but that's about it. They might go with, right, in terms of variations and all. Okay, so profit and loss. I mean, every exam there's going to be at least one or two or three questions you're going to turn up around this. The base for profit and loss is percentages. A good understanding of that is going to help over here, right? So the bare basics of profit and loss, cost price. You add a profit, you're going to get your selling price, and there is one more way in which you can reach the selling price. You mark up the product, right? You mark up the product by a certain amount to get the mark price, and then you give a certain discount, right? You give a discount on the mark price and you get the selling price, right? So how are these terms going to be linked up? Markup is a percentage of cost price, discount is a percentage of mark price, profit is a percentage of cost price, right? So nothing is a percentage of selling price unless they tell you in the question, right? Profit percent means on the cost price, markup percent means on the cost price, discount percent is on the mark price, and that's it, right? So this bit we need to understand clearly, right? So on to the next concept per se. What if they're going to give us MP by CP or SP by CP, or what are these supposed to give us, right? So if they tell us that the mark price by cost price is 3 by 2, right? It simply means what? MP by CP over here, we need to understand that from cost price, you increase the markup portion. You increase the markup, you're getting mark price. If MP by CP is 3 by 2, the markup portion over here was 1 rupee. 2 rupees, you add 1, you're getting 3, right? So what is the markup percent going to be? Markup percent is, you can just link up the ratios this way. For every 3 rupees of mark price, 2 rupees was cost price. 1 rupees is the markup. 1 rupee is a markup. The markup percent is markup divided by cost price. 1 by 2 into 100% into 100%, and we can say 50%. However, if they are giving just MP by CP as 3 by 2, you can directly divide and say 1.5. MP by CP is nothing but 1 plus markup percent. 1 plus markup percent. If 1.5 is 1 plus markup percent is nothing but, remove the 1, you get 0.5. 0.5 as a percentage is 50%, you can directly get. So MP by CP will give us the multiplication factor, right? So MP by CP is nothing but a multiplication factor of 1 plus markup percent. Likewise, if it's going to be SP by CP, it's nothing but 1 plus profit percent. And SP by MP is going to be 1 minus the discount percent. If we can remember it this way, it could be useful in some questions. Even if you're not able to memorize this part or look at it and relate to it this way, we'll see as to how to solve them using the index method itself, right? So it's not a must do. If you know it, well and good, right? This is the more common part, right, where we're going to be using profit and loss with ratios, index, or assuming a value, right? So I have about 5 examples over here. We'll take up and we look to solve them. That will give us an understanding. Start with an example. The first one from an easier year, 2017 slot 1. If a seller gives a discount of 15% on retail price, she still makes a profit of 2%. Okay. Which of the following ensures that she makes a profit of 20%? Okay. So now if we have to do this, we start with the first sentence over here. and we can assume a value because no absolute value is given. Now, what value should we assume? Discount of 15% on the retail price. That means I have a marked price, or let's call it the retail price or RP over here. And that value over here can be assumed, index. What can that be? It can be 100. On this, if I give a 15% discount, value is simple, 15 rupees, 15% of 100. If I subtract, I'm getting 85. That becomes the selling price. Now, if I'm told that you make a profit of 20%, if SP of 85, with SP of 85, I'm making a profit of, so I still make a profit of 2% over here, not the 20. I still make a profit of 2%. With SP of 85, I'm making a profit of 2%. I'm not able to relate to. So I'll use a second index over here and say if I'm making a profit of 2%, if my CP is 100, I make a profit of 2 and my SP becomes 102. That's it. So now if this is 102 and this is 85, how do I link and move forward is what I have to see, right? So 85 is to 102. What is the ratio? If I divide both by 17, I'm getting 5 is to 6. Everywhere, if it's to be in the 5 is to 6 ratio, then if 5 parts is 15, 1 part is 3, 6 parts is going to be 18, and 5 parts is 100, this becomes 120. Everything works out perfectly, right? We can work with this. Now the question is, which of the following ensures that she makes a profit of 20%? For me to make a profit of 20%, if my CP is 100, my SP should be 120. If my CP is 100, my SP should be 120. If my retail price is 120, I can't offer any discount. I have to sell it at the retail price, right? I have to sell it at the retail price, and that becomes the answer here. Okay, another example around this. In a market, the price of medium quality mangoes is half that of good mangoes. Okay, there's a relationship given. A shopkeeper buys 80 kg of good mangoes and 40 kg of medium quality mangoes from the market and sells all of these at a common price, which is 10% less than the price at which he had bought the good ones. Would I want to take price of medium quality is half that of good mangoes? If this is X, this is going to be X by 2. No, it's not school. We don't need variables anymore. We can assume values. If the price of good mangoes is 100 per mango, then the price of medium quality mangoes is going to be 50, right? So we can just work with these values and we can start. Or if you want to keep it a little simpler, we can say 10 and 5. 10 rupees is the cost of one good mango, 1 kg of good mangoes. 5 rupees is the cost of 1 kg of medium quality mangoes, price per kg. Then shopkeeper buys 80 kg of good mangoes, 80 into 10 plus 40 into 5, and that's coming to 800 plus 200 coming to 1000 rupees. Now what's happening over here? And then sells all of these at a common price, which is 10% less than the price at which he bought the good ones. So the selling price over here for the total 120 kgs is 10% less than this. 10% less than 10 is 9, right? 1 less than 10 is 9. I'm selling it at this. I'm selling it for 1080. What is the overall profit as a percentage? Profit over here is 80 rupees over CP of 1000. And that's it. That comes to 8% over here. And option 2 is the answer here. Yeah. So long question, but in terms of steps, it's only this much. Assume a value. Okay, let's take up another example here. A person spent rupees 50,000 to purchase a desktop computer and a laptop computer. So 2 items have been purchased for 50,000. He sold the desktop at a 20% profit and laptop at 10% loss. Overall, if overall he made a 2% profit, then the purchase price in rupees of the desktop is what, right? There are 2 ways to do this. One is to call this D and call this L. And then we can say 20% of D, which is 0.2 D. Then there is a 10% loss on the laptop, minus 0.1 L equals how much? 2% profit overall. Overall amount is 50,000 when you had purchased. 2% of 50,000 is going to come to 2 by 100 of that, and 2 into 500, 1,000 rupees, right? 1,000. So then I can simplify it. I can multiply by 10 and write 2D minus L equals 10,000 over here because I'm multiplying with 10. But I also have one more equation, D plus L, right? The cost of the two items, both combined, D plus L equals 50,000. I can just write that down over here. D plus L equals 50,000. And if I add the two, I'm going to get 3D equals 60,000 and D equals 20,000. Then the purchase price of the desktop is what? 20,000. And we are done. Okay, and another example. Anil buys 12 toys. I think, yeah. So Anil buys, okay, and another example. Anil buys 12 toys and labels, each with the same selling price. He sells 8 toys initially at 20% discount on the labeled price. Okay, he's buying 12 of them and he's labeling with the same selling price. 8 of the toys at 20% discount. He sells the remaining 4 toys, okay, at an additional 25% discount. Thus, he gets a total of 2112. Okay, he's realizing this amount, and he makes makes a 10% profit. Okay, of this also he's making a profit. With no discounts, his percentage of profit would have been what? Okay, simple. I have only one absolute value. That's it. With one absolute value, I will use an index to begin with, right? Index over here. How do I do that? Let's assume that he is buying them and labeling them over here at 100 rupees. 100 rupees is the label over here. And if he's labeling at 100, then when he sells 8 toys initially at 20% discount, right? SP of 8 toys is going to be what? 8 into 20% of discount on 100 is coming to 80 rupees, right? 100 minus 20 is 80, and that comes to 640 rupees. What's the selling price of the remaining 4 toys? He's giving an additional 25%. Additional how much? 25% is 1/4. If I'm reducing 1/4 of this, I'm getting 60. 1/4 is 20. Additional 1/4 I'm removing. I'm getting 60 for the remaining 4 toys, and that gives me 240, which is bringing the total to 880 rupees. Now 880 is my overall selling price, and I have made a 10% profit. If I made a 10% profit on this, it looks like profit is going to be 80 rupees. By observation itself, we can say a CP would have been 800, profit would have been 80, 10% of that to get 110%. Or if you want to link it up in terms of a ratio, tell yourself if 10% profit, if we don't know these values, if there is a 10% profit, for 10 rupees of CP, 1 rupee of profit, 10% profit to get 11 rupees of selling price. If 11 is 880, then 1 is, divide this by 11, you get 80, and you get an 800 over here. When you have values like these, see, trial and error with 2 zeros somewhere, 800, the nearest one, if that's working out, and it should. Once you're done with this, the last part is very simple. They're telling us he gets a total of 2112. That means selling price over here is 2112 in actual terms, right? With no discounts, his percentage of profit would have been how much? Wait, is 2112 even required right now? 2112 is not even required right now. They're asking in percentage terms what the profit would have been without discounts. If no discounts are going to be given out, then how much am I going to get from by selling these 12 items, 12 toys at 100 rupees? My selling price would have been 1200. Cost price never changes, remains at 800. My profit percent over here is going to be difference of 400 divided by 800 into 100%, and that's going to come to 400 by 8, which is 50%, right? Option 2 becomes the answer. So this was a question where we thought, oh, we need to use this. Therefore, we went to index. But finally, we realized everything is asked in percentage terms. Actual value does not even matter. This 2112 does not, you need not even use it. Next question, example 5. Mukesh purchased 10 bicycles in 2017 at the same price, some price. He sold 6 of these at a profit of 25%, remaining 4 at a loss of 25%. Okay, 4 bicycles, loss of 25, offsets 4 at 25 profit, 2 profit of 25 remains. He made a total profit of 2000. That's from the 2 cycles. His purchase price of a bicycle, one bicycle. So 1000 rupees per cycle. And then we're going to be 25%. This is 25%. So 4000. And that's it. We should just mark 4000 and keep going. But it looks like very little I've written, right? This is what we'll be seeing in a lot of time places where there'll be like, 99%, 100% error solving. But that's the point, right? We don't need to go for that. Let's understand this question. What's happening over here? Mukesh purchased 10 bicycles in 2017. Okay. He sold 6 of these at a profit of 25%. C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and C6. For these 6, you made a 25% profit, right? Plus 25%, plus 25%, and so on. Now, for the last 4, what's happened over here is there is a loss of 25%. Now, everywhere it's 25% of the 25% of the cost price, right? So, therefore, 1, 2, 3, 4. These profits are offset by the 4 losses. What is my net overall profit? My net overall profit is going to be from these 2 cycles, 25% and 25% of the respective prices, and they're all the same. Now, if my total profit is 2000, it should have been 1000 from cycle 1 and 1000 from cycle 2. If 25% of the cost price is 1000, 1/4 of the cost price is 1000, then cost price of a cycle is going to be 4 into that, which comes to 4000, right? If you visualize this and this flow comes in, it becomes quite easy. I will explain another method now. So let us say when this does not strike, right? So how do we go in for an index or, one absolute value given over here? We can always assume the cost price of a cycle over here. Cost price of a cycle is going to be 100. Total CP is going to be 100 into 10, 1000, right? So this is my index over here. 10 into 100, 1000. But what's happening over here is 6 of them you made a profit of 25 each, right? 100 is the cost price of the cycle. 6 of them, 6 into 25, right? Profit is going to be what? 6 into 25 minus, on 4 of them, there's a loss of 25. 4 into 25. 150 minus 100, which comes to 50 rupees. 50 rupees is the profit. Okay. So now the question is, if he made a total profit of 2000, then his purchase price of a cycle is how much? 50. They've given me the figure is 2000. If 50 is going to be 2000, how do I get that? 50 into 40. Now, cost price of a cycle is what is asked. I do the into 40. I am getting the 4000 and the answer remains the same. In case that part is not completely there, the index will not fail you at all. Right, next couple of examples around this, successive markups and discounts. Right, so back to back, if you're going to mark up or discount, right, so what's the treatment? Right, so let's take up something like this. What's happening here? A shopkeeper sells two tables, each procured at a cost price of P to Amal and Asim at a profit of 20% and a loss of 20%. Amal sells a table to Bimal at a profit of 30%. Okay, so now this seems like, the shopkeeper over here is selling it to Amal over here with a plus 20% profit and to Bimal over here at a 20% loss. Okay, and Amal is selling his table to Bimal at a profit of 30%. I'm further selling it to Bimal over here at another 30% profit. Bimal over here is selling, sorry, I think I mixed it up, right? Amal over here is and Asim over here. Okay, and Asim is selling his table to Barun, okay, Barun over here at a loss of one more 30% loss. If the amounts paid by Bimal and Barun are X and Y, X over here and Y over here, right? Then X minus Y by P is what? P is what? P is the cost price. P is the cost price of what? Each procured at cost price of P. One table. If one table is 100 rupees, that's it. Start with a value. If one table is 100, 100 plus 20% gets it at 120. Add 30%. 30% is 36. You add that and you get 156. This fellow, subtract 20%, you get 80. Remove another 30%, 24 you subtract, you're going to get a 56. If the amounts do this thing, so then x minus y by p, x minus y is 100 divided by p of 100. You cancel out and you get 1. Option 4 becomes the answer here. That's it. It's about drawing or understanding the flow. But once you do that, value, assume a value, don't work with the variable. Don't say p, 1.2p, 1.56p. You can do that. It's just that, take a value. Yeah, it's just going to be easy. That's it. Let's move to the next one. A man buys 35 kg of sugar and sets a mark price in order to make a 20% profit. Okay, I could be buying it 100 and making it 120. I could assume a value. We'll come to that. He sells 5 kg at this price, that is 120, and 15 kg at a discount of 10%, 108. Accidentally, 3 kg is wasted. He sells the remaining by raising the mark price by p percent to mark. Okay, fine. I need to find p nearest to 115. Yeah, that's it. I am going to use a value which I'm going to assume, right? Buys 35 kg of sugar, cost price equals 100 per kg, right? What is the total cost price over here? Total CP is 35 into 100. Total CP equals 35 into 100, 3,500. Yes. Mark price is going to be MP equals 120, right? 100 I'm marking up to get a 20% profit. He's selling 5 kg at this price. So selling price for 5 kg is what? 5 into 120 equals 600. Then what's happening? He's selling another 15 kg. SP for another 15 kg is coming at 15 into 10% discount on 120. 10% of 120 is 12. I remove, I get 108. 54 into 30, and 54 into 30 is going to come to 1620, right? 1620. You can use the calculator as well at this stage. And 3 kg of sugar is wasted. SP of 3 kg of sugar is 0. Nothing came out of it. He sells the remaining sugar. What's left over? 23 from the 35. The leftover over here is going to be 12. So the 12 kg was sold at some price, okay, by raising the mark price by p percent, okay, to make an overall profit of 15%. That means overall 15% made, 3,500. I have to increase by 15% and get some value over here, right? So 3,500 into 115 by 100 or something like that, and the two zeros get cancelled. You can always bring in a calculator over here and say, okay, let me do 35 into 115, or you can go in for the classic code 175. 35 ones are, put a 35 and a 35, and then add them up, and you're going to get a 25 and a 1 carry up and a 9. 5, 6, 8, 9, and it's actually a 0 over there and a 4. I think 4025 is what we should get over here. This adds up to 2220. You remove 2220 from this, and you're going to get 1805. 12 into what is 1805? 1805 divided by 12. 1800 by 12 is about 150, right? 150, close to that. Use the calculator. It's going to come to some decimal over here, 155 by 12 or something like that, right? So 155 by 12. Now, what should I raise my P percent? What is going to be raised? Mark price of what? Mark price of 120 should be increased to 150, right? Then 150 minus 120 divided by 120 into 100%. Subtract 30 by 120, and that's nothing but your 1/4, which comes to 25% over here. It's closest to 25%, and that would become the answer here. Now, what if your markup and discount percent are equal, right? So this is a specific concept. If your markup percent equals discount percent equals X percent, then you have incurred a loss over here of X square by 100%. That's it. If you have marked up a product by 20%, then you have given a discount of 20%. Your loss over here is going to be X square. 20 square is 400, 400 by 100, 4%. That's it. How do we look at it? 100 is, let's say, the CP. The mark price after a 20% markup is 120. Then you give a discount over here of how much? 20% of 120. which is 24, you remove. You're getting 96 as your selling price. On a 100 rupee cost price, 96 is your selling price. That's a 4% loss. 4% loss. How do you directly get these values when these two are equal? X square by 100%. CAT, I haven't really seen this, but other exams I've seen. Right, so in Math Snap and all, I've seen this coming up, where you can directly apply and close it out. Right, so if at all you have one, something like this, example 8, I don't want to spend too much time. John buys a product at 500 and marks it up by 15%. After extensive bargaining with the customer, he sells it to her at a discount of 15% on the marked up price, right? You're increasing and then decreasing by 15%. What is the overall percentage of profit or loss incurred? This 500 does not matter. We're just looking at the percentage, right? So overall, it's going to be a loss in this case, and it's going to be 15 square by 100%. Directly find that out and apply. 225 by 100 is 2.25%. Mark this and keep going. That's it, right? So CAT, unlikely. Other exams, yeah. But if it does come in CAT also, you know how to do it now. Similar to the previous one, right? If there are going to be two products with equal selling price, not cost price, remember that, right? Two products with equal selling price and profit percent on one is equal to the loss percent on the other, then what's going to happen is the net position is again a loss of x square by 100%. Minus x square by 100% is the profit, which means there's a loss of x square by 100%. But what's the condition over here? The condition is the equal selling prices, not equal cost prices. Cost prices are going to be different for the two products. The profit and loss percentage are the same and the selling price are the same. Then it's an overall loss of x square by 100%. If this would have been profit percent on one is equal to the loss percent on another, and both had equal cost prices, then it's a profit is a zero, right? Profit and loss is zero. So no profit, no loss situation. Because in one you made a plus X%, the other you made a minus X%, both on the cost price, no profit, no loss. When does this arise? Remember, only when the SPs are equal for two products. And on one product it's a plus X%, the other is a minus X%. The values are the same. Then yes, overall is a loss of x square by 100%. Quickly again, how many of these turn up? In other exams, yes. CAT, not much, but let's look at it quickly. If you have one, then it will be like this. Pratap trades in motorcycles. On a certain day, he sells two motorcycles for rupees 480 each. If one was sold at a profit of 20%, the other at a loss of 20%, what was his overall profit or loss from the transaction in rupees? Plus 20, minus 20, overall profit is going to be a loss of 20 square by 100%. That's the application with some minus 4%. Minus 4% on the overall scenario, right? In the overall scenario. But he's selling the two motorcycles for 480 each. So selling price is going to be for two motorcycles 480 into 2, and that is coming to 960 rupees. Cost price is going to be what? No, that's not what is asked. Overall profit or loss, overall loss is how much over here is what is asked, right? We need to find that. But what do we know? If cost price was 100, then loss would have been 4 rupees, which means 96 would have been the selling price. Why do I know that? I know from the percentage. I can use an index over here. The actual remains over here. 96 into 10 is 960. 4 into 10 is 40. 1000 into this is 100 into 10 is 1000. And overall loss in actual figures is 40 rupees. We can mark that and keep going. Index is going to give you that flexibility at every single point. Right. So next up, we have these types of questions, right? SP of M units is the same as CP of N units and all of that. Some places, even I have given some formula on these. I mean, because some like formulae, but do I remember them? No. You don't need to remember them, right? So let's look at a couple of examples. It's been a while since some of these questions turned up in CAT, and anytime it can, right? So yeah, how do we do these? A trader purchased 80 units of a product. After he sold 60 of these units, he observed that his sales receipts equaled his total purchase cost. Total purchase cost is being equaled. This is the point where I would want to assume some values to work with, right? So the total purchase cost. Now, what is the profit percentage over here. Now the question is, what should I assume? I have to assume a value. Should CP of 1 unit be given, or SP should be given over here? You might want to go in for either. Let's see as to what happens when we take, let CP be rupees 1 per unit, right? CP is 1 rupee per unit. Then total CP is going to be how much? 80. But when I'm selling only 60 of these units, right? When I'm selling only 60 of these units, I'm concerned only of those 60 units. What is CP of my 60 units going to be? CP of my 60 units at 1 rupee a unit is coming to 60 rupees. What is the selling price of these 60 units? But when I'm selling 60, I'm not getting only 60, I'm getting my entire cost price. So selling price of 60 units is going to be 80 rupees. Now these two are comparable because I'm working with the same number of units, 60 units in both cases. That's it. What's the profit percentage? Rounded to the nearest integer. Profit over here is going to be difference of 20 divided by cost price of 60. This is nothing but 1/3. 1/3 as a percentage, we know what it is. Sorry about this, right? 1/3 is a percentage. Don't even need to write all of that. 33 1/3%. Nearest integer is 33 over here, and that becomes the answer here. So going to another example around the same thing, right? Something like this. When 11 units of a product are sold, a trader's gain is the selling price of 3 units of a product. When 11 units of product are sold, trader's gain is selling price of 3. So gain is given in terms of selling price of 3 units of a product. So that's it. Let SP be rupees 1 per unit. I'll start with that. Previous question we looked at CP being 1 per unit. Here I'm doing that because it's linked to the selling price, right? So what is the overall selling price going to be? For 11 units, when I'm selling them, I'm going to get 11 rupees. What is the gain? Gain is nothing but the profit. And what is the profit in what is the profit in this case? It is 3 units. Yeah. So the profit is 3 units selling price, which is 3 rupees, which means my cost price was 11 minus 3, which is only 8 rupees. What is the trader's overall profit percentage? 3 by, yeah, so 3 by 8 into 100% and comes to 37.5%. Come to 37.5. In the exam, they'll ask us to round it to the nearest integer because that's how they would set it. But yeah. So fraudulent trader or dishonest trader, right? So how does this trader work? Is the trader not smart? No, nothing like that. Trader is smart, but it's fraudulent, right? So what do we have? I mean, ignore the name, not trying to associate with anybody. Ramlal purchases rice at 2.47 per kg and marks up the price by 17% and sells it. He uses a defective weighing machine while selling the rice. It measures 900 grams of rice as 1 kg. What is the profit percentage? Now, what is happening here? He is purchasing at some price. Finally, profit percentage asked. This price, I don't care. All I want you to do in these concepts, I mean, with fraudulent trader concept is write down the stated cost price. So the cost price, we can assume a value. Let it be rupees 100 per kg. He is marking it up by 17% and selling it. Okay. So selling price over here, the stated selling price, he's saying that I'm going to be selling it at 117 per kg. He uses a defective weighing machine while selling the rice. Okay. It measures 900 grams instead of 1 kg. While selling, he's getting 117, but not for 1 kg. He's getting it for 0.9 kg. 0.9 kg is all he's giving, but he's getting this amount. So the actual SP over here is 117 divided by 0.9. For every 0.9 kg is getting this. That is the actual selling price. 117 by 0.9, I can write it separately over here and write the unit separately this way. And I'm getting 117 by 9 is 13. So it comes to 130 rupees, 130 per kg. But what is my actual cost price? Nothing else is given while buying it. So it remains at 100 per kg. So what is the profit percentage overall? Actual terms we have to look at. 130 minus 100, 30 divided by 100 into 100%. That's going to come to 30%. That's it. Right. So what do we do? Two-step process. Write the stated. What is supposed to be the selling price or the selling price or the cost price. What is happening in actual terms is a change in the quantity, the denominator, right? Not on the numerator. And we work with it this way for this particular question. So what do we have here? So example 13. Jayraman claims to purchase and sell jowar at the same price per kg. However, he uses a defective pan balance wherein one side weighs 200 grams more than the other. He used a 1 kg weight for every purchase and sale. Okay. He uses the balance to his advantage, right? It's benefiting him. Okay. While buying and selling. What is his actual profit percent? He claims to purchase and sell at the same claiming. So let the stated cost price be how much? Rupees 100. Simple value to assume. And stated selling price. Stated selling price over here is also rupees 100 per kg. Now, what is the actual cost price over here? Now, when I'm going to be buying it, I want to buy more of weight, right, to favor me. I want to buy more for the same price. I will use it to my advantage. So, therefore, in this weighing scale over here, um, I'm going to be using it to my advantage, and I'm going to be putting the weight of extra 200 grams wherever it is. I'm going to be putting the 1 kg weight and putting the rice into the other one. I'm getting 1.2 kg out. Whatever is the heavier side, I am going to put the weight there. I'm going to get extra 1.2 kg, extra 200 grams. I'm getting that much extra rice. My actual CP is 100 by 1.2. But what is my actual SP over here? While selling it, I want to give out less rice. I'll use the 200 grams heavier side to my advantage. I'll put the rice on that side and I'll put the weight on the other. So 1 minus 0.2, that comes to 0.8 kg is what is going out, right, of the 100. So therefore, what is happening over here is my actual CP is 100 by 1.2, actual SP is 100 by 0.8. What is the actual profit percent? We need to remember SP by CP. I have SP and CP with me. That gives me the 1 plus profit percent. So subtract 1. What is SP over here? 100 by 0.8 divided by 100 by 1.2 and then a minus 1. This goes up 12 by 8 minus 1, which comes to 4 by 8, which is 1 by 2, which is nothing but 50%. 50 becomes the answer here. Do not look to solve this or reduce it to fractions and all. You can directly do it over here and use an SP by CP minus 1. That's profit percent. SP by CP is multiplication factor. Subtract a 1 and it gives you the profit. This is into something around fixed cost, variable cost, and break even, right? In fact, before I even start with the example, right, let's understand what this fixed cost, variable costs are, and break even as well. Typically, when we have revenue, revenue is always going to be variable. Variable. What does that mean? I can be told that if n units are going to be sold, you are going to be receiving about 20 rupees per unit, right? Which comes to total amount which I'm getting is 20n. Now, some part of it could be variable cost. For these n units, what could be the variable cost? Let's say 8 rupees per unit. Yeah. And this is coming to 8n. There could be a fixed cost. Fixed cost is not going to be changing with all of these n and all of that. It's just a fixed cost which is just there over there in the business. And that can be, let's say, 120, right? 120 rupees. So now they could ask you, what's the break-even point? What is the break-even? No profit, no loss. When is there no profit, no loss? When my cost is equal to revenue. When my cost is equal to revenue, there is no profit or loss. My cost over here is 120 plus 8n equals 20n. I take that there, I get it. 12n equals 120, n equals 10. When 10 units are sold, what's happening here? 200, 80, 120. These are equal over here. So let's take an example over here. At a reputed engineering college in India, total expenses of a trimester are partly fixed and partly varying linearly with the number of students. All they're saying is when you're linearly varying, it's variable cost. That's it. It all looks complicated. It simply means there's fixed cost and variable cost. Average expense per student. How do I find that? Total cost by number of people, right? Average expense per student is rupees 400 when there are 20 students, and 300 when there are 40 students. And when there are 80 students, what is that going to be? Right. So we will look at the linear equation. In fact, first time I did it was with the linear equations. That's when one of my students had told me that, hey, just logically look at it. 400 here with 20, it's reducing. With 40 students, it's 300. With 40 students, it's only 300. With 80 students, it has to be even lower. And the only lower value is 250 and has to be the answer. Probably that's what IFT wanted that year. All right. But let's say the options are tricky. Then how do we solve it? How do we solve it with linear equations over here? All right. So linear equations are going to be simple, right? So what's going to be the total cost? That's it. Total cost would be the linear equation. It's always fixed cost plus when 20 students are there, 20V. Let V be the variable cost of one student. F plus 20V equals how much? The average expense was 400 when it was 20 students. 400 into 20, 8,000 over here. When there are 40 students, then it is 300 over here. F plus 40V equals 300 into 40. That's my total cost. Average is 300 for 40 students. 300 into 40 and we get 12,000. And from this, the differential, what do we know? 20V over here. 20V is the difference in terms of the left-hand side equals 4,000. Now, what is asked? When there are 80 students, what is F plus 80V going to be? F plus 80V, I just need to add another 40V. That's it. And 40V is nothing but 2 times this, 8,000. If I add 8,000 to this, I'm getting 20,000. Now 20,000 for 80 students. So each student is going to be 20,000 by 80, 2,000 by 8, which comes to 250. Option 1 becomes the answer. So what I've done over here is I have not solved for this. I have not tried to find F and V values. You don't need to do that. Take the difference between two of them and we understand it is 20V. That's the difference. You add 20V, you get the next equation. Add 4,000, you get this. So 20V is 4,000. To find the next one with 80V, F plus 80V, I need to add 40V. To add 40V, if 20V is 4,000, 40V is 8,000. That 8,000 I add over here and I'm getting my 20,000. 20,000 is the total cost for 80 students. Each student average is 250 in case the options were different. On to the last question of concept also, that pertaining to variable margin or break-even volume, which we just saw, right? This is another, it's a lesson example. Let's see. Now, some costs for a machine are fixed and do not vary with change in output. That's the fixed cost. While others are variable and change at a constant rate for every additional unit produced, right? The first part, a lot of times in tests, what they give is a description of fixed cost and variable cost, assuming that I cannot directly give it to you, right? Probably you would not have learned it, but you should know at types, right? But I should explicitly clarify. And this is something you can expect in exams, right? So don't get thrown away by these sentences. All that means over here is some part is fixed, the rest are variable, like we saw. Average cost per unit was 60 when 15 units are produced and 50 when 20 units are produced, right? What is the total cost incurred? It's not on break-even volume, but yeah, let's look at it, right? Similar to the previous one. Let's say you have to do it. How do you do this? Average cost per unit was 60 when 15 were produced, right? So therefore, F plus 15V equals 60 into 15, which comes to 900, and 50 when 20 are produced. F plus 20V equals 50 into 20, which is 1000. So the difference of 5V equals 100 and V equals 20. What is the total cost incurred when 30 units are produced, right? When 30 are produced, 30V over here, and what's happening over here? I have another 10V added, right? Plus 10V. 1V is 20, 10V is 200. Add 200, we get 1200. And that's it. Mark that. And that's the total cost incurred over here.